Welcome everybody. We're just going to start on time because we have a lot to bring to you today. My name is Justine, and I'm going to be your session moderator here. And just a few housekeeping items, and please silence your phones. Photography is permitted, subject to the speaker's request, not to capture. Recording the program will be available at the end of the meeting. I think this program is being recorded, right? Okay. And I think all the participants have agreed to record, so that's all good. And then download the app. I think many of you have the app. If you don't have the app yet, go to the front desk here. There are some wonderful helpers that can help you to navigate that. And then we have an evaluation survey at the end of the session. It's in your app. Be sure to respond to that and let us know how we did. And with that, thank you again for being here. I'm going to turn it over to Kara to just share a little bit about some of our programs here. Then we'll get right into the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justine. So way to advance this slide. That one. Thank you. All right, so I'm here on behalf of the ABRF Education Committee. The mission of the Education Committee, EDCOM, is to promote, design, support, and implement educational programs for all of you and for your core staff back at home. We want to contribute to the continuing education and training, enhance scientific and professional development, and facilitate training of graduate students, postdocs, who want to pursue careers in core facilities. We do that through a lot of different mechanisms. We've been to the lightning talks that happened at lunch. They were fantastic. There's another series of them tomorrow. Please come check them out. We have a whole group of posters sessions happening tomorrow and Monday. We're planning some really strong year-round webinar content. And so if you have ideas, if you would like to be a part of this, we've got some really exciting things in the work. Come and talk to me. Send us an email. EDCOM. Back to Justine.
Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Kara. All right, so our session today is talking about career advancement and professional development for research support organizations. And here we're being a lot more inclusive. We have representatives from different organizations that support research. Some of this is administration, some of this is medical leadership, and so, but all supporting research. So we're going to be a little bit more broad. We'll be touching a lot about some of the things that impact us in the core community, but we'll be a little bit broader, talk about research support generally. We come, it's great that we have had some great speakers. Wasn't Kerryvale very amazing this morning? Oh, wonderful. And then our keynote speaker, Mark, was wonderful as well. And we know we'll be building on some of the things that have already been talked about in this space. Really, I think all of us will agree that there's a big need and research support of essential scientific discovery of these core facilities and other research support general. And then really the career paths for support personnel are generally inconsistent and unclear, sometimes non-existent. Dr. Vera said she had to work for 10 years before really ever getting anything in place. So hopefully we can get that sooner than later here, but the road is still steep, and we are glad that we are partnering with great organizations that have done this to really share some practices, learn from each other, really move our research enterprise forward. And moreover, really, most of you become scientists, you're great scientists, great at what you do, and then you find yourselves in leadership roles where you have to manage budgets, where you have to manage conflicts, balance books, and really lead strategic plans and business plans. And this is not what you went to school for, so that's where we really come together. Like the ABRF provides some training in that through the Business Skills Program and many other programs that you'll hear here as an effort to bridge some of those gaps. Then one thing that I really want to emphasize, again, you heard it this morning, just, our research support folks being referred to as just technician. We really want to debunk those myths and those tendencies, and so they are not just technicians. they are really strategic partners, and I think we really should owe it ourselves to inform and educate our audiences that research support personnel are strategic partners. They are not just technicians or clerks in some other professions like research administration. So bottom line is that if we don't address this issue, we risk losing our folks to industry, which is fine, but really we want to retain key talent to support the research enterprise. Satisfaction will suffer if we don't have concerted efforts to recognize and appreciate and promote our research support personnel. Utilization of expertise and leadership potential diminishes. We really have great talent in all of you, and really we owe it to all of ourselves to really find some mechanisms to keep promoting this profession. And missed opportunities to strengthen research quality, efficiency, and innovation if you don't really have formal mechanisms to recognize our research support personnel. Again, there are some opportunities that exist. We could invest in intentional leadership programs and pipelines, which you'll hear from some of our speakers. I know WMC has done a lot of work in this space. We'll hear from Tracey here about some of that work in that space. Training programs and skills development, and Kira has done a lot of good work in that space that we can model about, so, and we're lucky to have some of these presenters here. Mentorship programs, Ari has done some work in that space that we'll get to learn about that. Career paths, Andy, Josh with CTLS, really in a goal to sustain our operations and sustain our programs and the research enterprise. The bottom line is that developing a research support personnel is not really optional. It's something that we have to do if we have to be successful and sustain the research enterprise. And with that, really, our session here today is to leverage cross-organizational collaborations to think through leadership and look at successful models in leadership and recognition of our support personnel, training opportunities and best approaches, career development and skills development, mentorship and best approaches, and then career pathways and collaboration and resource sharing amongst our organizations. And so we have this wonderful group of folks representing different groups, and the goal is that we don't just stop this conversation here, is that this is just the beginning of a conversation, and we continue to collaborate, we continue to seek ways and pathways to find solutions to these challenges that we face, and there are many opportunities as we will learn together. And so this is a lineup of our speakers here. That's me. I'm the president of the American College of Healthcare Executives. I just spent almost 20 years at the University of Kansas Medical Center running a human imaging facility. I just recently moved on to pursue other interests, but still really, really involved in this profession because it's my passion. I also run the business skills program of ABRF along with many folks here that you have met. This is Tracey Pickard. She's with AAMC, and she'll share a little bit more about herself. We have Tara Bishop from NCURA, and then we also have Josh. Many of you know Josh, ABRF and CTLS. We have Sarah Avey from ARI, that's the Association of Independent Research Institutes. Many of you are members. I see Van Andel, I see Stowers, I see Moffitt. Many of you are members of this association. Andy Chitty, recently with OHSU, is now at MGB, also part of our business skills program. Brooke Ring with CNSP, that's the Canadian network of shared platforms, could not be with us, but she's very much part of this effort, and will continue to have her involvement and learn from CNSP beyond this meeting. And then last but not least, our fearless leader, Ken Shopman, who has been a big part of bringing this initiative and this group forward and will continue to do so. Thank you again for being here. And so Tracey will be talking about leadership and recognition. Sarah will be talking about training programs and best approaches, modeling some of what NCURA has done over the years. Josh will talk about career development and skills development and share some things from his personal journey getting here. Mentorship programs and best approaches that have worked. We learned from Sarah with ARI. Andy, as many of you know, Andy has done a lot of good work in this space at OHSU, Oregon Health Sciences, and continues to do good work at MGB. So we'll get to learn from him. And then collaboration and resource sharing from CNSP. Brooke is not here, but she shared some resources with us that we'll make available to you. So with that, thank you so much for being here, and I'll turn it over to Tracey.
Thank you. Thank you, Justine. I'm happy to be here with you all. We'll start with, again, that's me. I am Tracey Pickard. I am Director of Learning and Leadership Development at the AAMC. For those who aren't familiar, that's the Association of American Medical Colleges. And I'm excited to be here to talk to you all today because I think it's something that we all know, that many of the people who shape the culture and the success in medical research and biomedical research don't actually have the word leader in their title. But they influence teams, they mentor scientists, they manage complex resources. You all help move forward discovery every day, and this is even more challenging in today's environment. So it's important to recognize that leaders such as yourselves are often overlooked in traditional leadership conversations, and that's something that we're looking to change. And I want to talk to you today about some of the resources that we have at the AAMC as well that you can access. Many of you in this room may actually be members of the AAMC, and you might think, how do I know this? Well, if you're at an academic medical center, you're probably a member. If you're in an academic health system, you're probably a member. And even if you're not, a number of the resources I talk about today are things that are accessible to you as well. So I want to share some of those things because we know academic medicine is a team enterprise. And I want to highlight some of the resources we have. And I also want to extend an invitation to collaborate with all the folks here because this is not something that any one of us can do really well. So here's a quick overview of what I intend to talk to you about today, some of the things we think about at the AAMC in terms of leadership. We believe firmly that leadership is a behavior, it's not a title. Sometimes folks end up in a leadership role overnight, literally. We recognize that. And doesn't have to be in your title for you to be a leader. You're a leader in different ways, and what it means to be a leader is different for everyone. For some folks, being a leader means moving up the career path, moving up the ladder, but we know for other folks that's not the case. They have different goals and objectives in the work that we do. So that's really important. I will talk to you more too about what we offer in terms of the other responsibilities and the other opportunities on this slide as we get a little bit further. So I want to start here. Learning and networking with the AAMC. We offer lots of things. This is a QR code. You're welcome. The slides will be available afterwards, but you're welcome while I'm talking. You can take a picture. It'll take you to our Learn and Network webpage. You can save it for future use because there's all sorts of resources on there for all of those things that are listed, our affinity groups, leadership development. I'm going to talk about each of those different categories as we go forward, but you can think about that. Because again, we know that people don't hold formal leadership roles, but they need those skills, and those are important to them. So first, I want to talk about how we approach leadership development. We have three main portfolios that we offer at the AAMC. The first one is our RISE programming. That's designed for our student portfolio. We recognize that the earlier we can help folks in their leadership journey, the better off they are. So our RISE portfolio is primarily for students working their ways to support their journey. Our core portfolio is something that may be of interest to all of you. It's cultivating essential skills at 4 distinct career levels. We have progressive learning experiences. The core portfolio is really aimed to give you a nice, solid foundation of what it means to be a leader. We move through in terms of leading self, leading teams, leading organizations, all the way to leading systems. So we offer leadership development all the way from your very first role, all the way through folks who are already in the C-suite or aspiring to be in the C-suite. And it's for all roles, faculty and staff combined. And I can't emphasize that enough. We recognize there's not enough opportunities for staff. There's lots of opportunities for faculty, not a lot for staff. But we do incorporate in our programming for staff. And this is not just clinical physicians and those roles too. This is for the science roles, all of the folks that work in academic medicine. We have support for them in those programs. Our specialized portfolio, we kind of say that that's our just-in-time learning. That's fine-tuning. That's for very specific roles in your career path. So we might have a course for folks who work in graduate medical education, or we might have a course for folks who are new associate deans, people who work at very specific pathways in their career, very specific interests to help support them. So that's a little more narrowed down. And the QR code there will take you to the link that tells you directly more about that. So again, you're welcome to take a picture of that and snap and save it in your file as you're talking. And all of those programs are offered to members as well as non-members of the AAMC. So you can look on there and see what types of topics help you. We cover everything, all different types of the leadership things, leading through influence. We cover finance. We cover things like managing uncertainty, culture, change, all of those pieces that everyone needs support at varying parts in their career. We also offer the AAMC Career Connect. So it's a great opportunity to use that webpage. There are postings for anyone who work in academic medicine and sciences. If you're looking for a new role, that's an excellent place to look. I've also had folks reach out to me that they use the listings on there to help support promotion and tenure for themselves. They look at other listings that are out there in similar types of work and similar salary ranges to use that in their negotiation. So it's a great website you can connect with to sort of see what's out there. Even if you're not necessarily looking for a new role, it's helpful to see what's happening at other organizations. Lots of great information through that webpage as well. Our virtual communities. That's just a piece of how we convene. We do a number of things at the AAMC. We have affinity groups who host meetings and regional meetings throughout the year. Those are just groups based around common trends, common interests, common themes. And we have virtual communities based around the same thing. This is a link there. You can see it's 10,000 peers across the network, 90 different communities. You can search, you can join as many as you want. You can set it up as a digest where you just get an overview, or you can get a daily update, whatever you want to do. It talks about all the different meetings. It's also a place to just post challenges you're having, questions you're having. It really helps build that network, that cohort of folks who are dealing with some of the similar challenges you are in terms of being a leader or managing your organization. So that's something we spend a lot of time on. There's also opportunity for peer mentorship, leadership pipelines, collaborative problem solving, things along those times. For many professionals, these communities become one of the most valuable parts of their engagement with us because it really does help them. And of course, we have multiple meetings throughout the year. Some of you may be familiar, we do an annual meeting every November. This year we're in Anaheim, if you're interested. It's called Learn, Serve, Lead, and we have topics across the spectrum. So there's plenty of interest to folks who work in research and science as well. Something that's really powerful that a lot of folks don't realize, the AAMC does a lot of things, but one of the big things we do, data and research. We do have a lot of reports available. I couldn't even list them all. There's so much data and information available through our website. I encourage you to take a look at it. It's very valuable for you as you work through your career. We do a lot of data and benchmarking that folks rely on. A lot of academic institutions rely heavily on our data, understand workforce trends, institutional performance, things along those lines. Some of the things that we have are a faculty salary report. You can see a little picture of it up there in the corner. A lot of institutions use that to see compensation trends or specific comparisons, also workforce distribution. It's a lot of good information on there. We also do a med school operations snapshot. That one provides insights in how medical schools structure their operation, their staffing, and their resource allocation. I know that those are things that you're all very familiar with. And again, for many leaders managing research infrastructure or institutional strategy, these reports offer valuable benchmarking data that you can use in negotiating with your leadership or as you're looking at opportunities across the board. We do workplace and faculty surveys. We do national surveys, analysis that help institutions understand faculty engagement, workforce trends, and the challenges that they're facing. They're widely used. We offer also our research and administrative staffing survey, so you can see how other institutions structure their programs, what their staffing allocations are, how they're financed, the salary levels. All of those things are available in these reports through the website. Another piece that might be useful to all of you is we do a faculty roster which supports the number of faculty receiving R01 grants. It's a place you can look all that data up and get a sense of what's going where and who's doing what. So these are all just a small sampling of the types of reports we have on our webpage. I encourage you to take a look. You can access those. For members, many are available at very low cost or free. If you find that we like to tease the faculty salary report, I think for members it's $50. And if you want to pool with your friends, I won't tell if you only bought one and you shared it with everyone. A lot of institutions actually purchase a copy of a lot of these documents and they have them somewhere in their institution offices. So you don't have to, it's not an individual site license like that. So you can definitely access these and share them. They're very valuable when it comes time to negotiating your career path or negotiating for resources. So those are just some of the things we have to offer. I know I went very quickly, but again, the links are there. I really encourage you to spend some time. I'll be here afterwards if you have questions, but really, I think the underlying message here is leadership development is not just one organization anymore. It's groups like ABRF and the AAMC, we share one goal, and that's supporting people like you to make research and discovery possible. So we need to collaborate across the professional communities with the folks here at this table, because leadership is not a position you hold someday. It's more about a set of behaviors you practice throughout your career to accomplish the things that are meaningful to you. So I'm excited to hear from the other folks at this table and ultimately work together to strengthen research in the entire research ecosystem. So thank you. I'm now going to go ahead and unofficially introduce our next speaker. Tara, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tara Bishop, and I serve as the Deputy Chief Executive for the National Council of University Research Administrators. Our members are the great people who help faculty get grants for their research, and then hopefully once that award comes to the institution, takes care of all the administration for that research so faculty can focus on the research. And I will start by saying the photo that was popped up when our names first came up is 15 years old. And the reason I know that is because that photo was taken right before Easter, 15 years ago, because my son is turning 30. The Dean of Discipline was calling me about some infraction about like fried egg socks, and he said this was a first world issue uniforms, and I just didn't think he would make it through graduation. But I'm happy to say he graduated from high school, college, he's getting married next year, all is well. So if you have a teenager, they're unfolding. It's all good. I just felt the universe put that picture there for me just to share that bit of hope and optimism with everybody. So let me ask first a question. Is there anybody here who has a very busy work schedule? Anybody? A couple here, maybe? Okay. Anybody have young people at home that need them? Okay. Parents who need some support? Is there a dog? Is there a kitten or a parrot or a roof or a car? When we think about all the things going on in our lives and our busy jobs, to make space for professional development can seem daunting. We had a great keynote speaker several years ago, Eric Hazelton, who came to Incura and said, the tyranny of the urgent can trump the pursuit of the important. And to really take the time for what is important. And why is professional development so important? Well, of course, staying current in this ever-changing environment. It definitely helps build confidence and competence. When you leave this meeting, from all that you have heard, all that you've experienced, you are changed. You are changed going back to your organization. It certainly opens doors for career growth and really just helps the professional growth of each of us. Now, when we look at the broader impact of professional development, when you think about when you're really, feeling some stress and you're on a deadline, our perspective is right here, like, I've got to get this one thing done, and that's all we see. When we make time for professional development, it expands our perspective. It expands what we think about and how we think about things. So we had a speaker just in Puerto Rico. We were just in Puerto Rico for a meeting, Dr. Aditi Nurakar. And she encouraged us to think about time in a week. She goes, when we think about our time in a day, we think, I didn't get to that today, or I didn't accomplish that today, so I guess I'm not going to work out forever because I didn't get it done today, or do anything positive for myself, or take maybe that moment for professional development, read something, listen to something. But she said, when we think about our time in a week, there's a little more space there. We might not be able to make half an hour today. Could we take a half an hour this week? Well, you're all ahead of the curve here being here, so check, check, you're all done for this week, fantastic. When you think about, could I make a little bit of time to support my professional development? When I heard this from Dr. Nurakar, and our executive director gave us the day off on Friday, I said, I'm going to the library. I haven't been to the library since before COVID, embarrassing. And I took a little social media fast, and I actually got a book, like a book I don't have to read. And this morning when I got to the airport 4 hours early because of TSA, and I flew right through, I had 4 hours to read Ernest Hemingway's short stories. It was amazing. So when you think about time for your professional development, time to expand your perspective, there is time if you think about it in a week. For Incura, we have a multimodal learning ecosystem, as many organizations do. We're in person, we're live, we're on demand, we're podcasting, publications, communities, mentoring, applied practices, YouTube, the whole 9 yards, which many organizations are. I think that the space to consider is, again, in a week, can you make some time for one podcast, one article, one conversation outside of the tyranny of the urgent to move your perspective and career forward? For Incura, 2 things I want to highlight for you. We have a YouTube channel. We have YouTube Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we send out a 3 to 5 minute video about something to do with research administration. It's a super quick, knowledge-expanding moment. It's available for everyone. And we're also launching a new online leadership program at the end of the year, asynchronous, 4 months, and then you also have a year in the Leadership Exchange community. It is priced so low because we want everyone to be able to go. Member, non-members, everything is the same. We want everyone to have the ability to have that kind of leadership experience. So feel free to come check us out at incura.edu towards the end of the year. And as far as how learning happens and how your professional development happens, it happens across experiences, relationships, who you sit next to at lunch, asking, what did you hear today that was interesting? Chatting with someone at coffee, what's been the best session for you? So taking that time. And professional development is your opportunity to swim outside your lane. So Ron Emanuel, who was the former chief of staff for President Obama, that was a big priority for him. He said, I talk to everyone who has nothing to do with what I do. I read as much as I can because those different perspectives inform how I do what I do. So it really does expand and strengthen the entire profession. So I would encourage you, make time for yourself, look at your week, see what you can do. 10 minutes, 15 minutes a week advances your not only career, but the entire profession. Thank you.
Hi, so this is my only slide. So I'm here to talk to you about CTLS and the professional development activities that CTLS offers. For those of you who don't know, CTLS is a European Core Facility Association. I'm here representing CTLS. I'm not European. So my kids hold 2 passports. There's reasons why I'm representing CTLS here, but I am not European. I don't pretend to be. But hearing a little bit about my journey, which will include professional development activities in the core facility world in many ways, will land us at CTLS and the CTLS professional development activities. So I come from New York City. I hold the singular achievement of obtaining my PhD from Mount Sinai Hospital, which is also where I was born. So, can anybody else say that? So when I was a PhD student, my PI was not an expert microscopist, but my project was about 95% microscopy, at least the stuff that worked was about 95% microscopy. And so Scott Henderson, who's now at Scripps, ran the imaging core at Mount Sinai School of Medicine at the time. And he and I worked together so closely that by the end of it, my PI very wisely said, I think he should be on your thesis committee. And in fact, Scott went through, I don't know how many of you know Scott, but he went through my entire thesis with a fine-tooth comb, and he corrected every single image, you know, any scale bar, any labels, that, you know, everything had to be consistent and just so. Super helpful for me because it was all fluorescence microscopy, multicolor, and I'm colorblind. I know I chose an interesting career, so he was super helpful there. I then went off to Rockefeller. I didn't go far from home, and I did a postdoc in a lab that had our own microscopes. I didn't actually use the imaging core, wonderful though it is at Rockefeller, but what I did use is the flow cytometry core. And Svetlana Mazel, who some of you might know, was another tremendous role model for me. I'd never touched a flow cytometer before, but I knew my way around microscopes very, very well. And she said, you seem to know what you're doing. You seem to be careful. You know what? You can do your own sorting. Go, you know, vaya con Dios. So she was fantastic. And I didn't realize that I was absorbing these mentorship experiences. So I had one core facility mentor who was put on a thesis committee, which is a tremendous professional development opportunity for him. And then another one who trusted in me and gave me the ability to do my own sorting, which was amazing. And then I finished at Rockefeller, and this is where Europe comes in. Well, it was Europe at the time. So I got a faculty position at the University of Birmingham in the UK, back when the UK was part of the EU. So that's where the link is. And this is when one of the most significant mentors of my life came in, which is Spencer Short. So I just want to say, you know, anything that I've achieved since that moment, I owe to Spencer. So I had the good fortune of taking on 3 high-end microscopes into my lab with the condition that I turned my lab into a core facility or something, or it was both a lab and a core facility or something. I don't know. I still don't understand what the model was because there really wasn't one. And Spencer took me under his wing. And he was just unbelievably giving of his time, and he was founding CTLS at this moment, and he said, I think there's a place for you here. So I became the founding secretary of CTLS, I guess because I took good notes or something, and I'm still with CTLS to this day, and in particular, I was on the board of directors, on the executive committee, and the training working group, and the 2 co-heads of the training working group are behind you, Veronica and Victoria. So if I say anything wrong, tell me. So then I left the UK and I came back to the US and I went to Northwestern University, and this is where the 4th mentor, Phil Hochberger, who obviously everybody knows and loves, and he showed me what a core facility program can be. And now I'm at BC and I'm running a core facility program, and so it's thanks to all of those people and all the mentorship they offered. And because of this, I wanted to sort of, you know, pay it back. And so we founded, after COVID in 2022, on the training working group, we founded the mentorship program and the job shadowing program. And these were like, oh, we can actually, you know, go places and talk to people again. And so the mentorship program is pretty simple. We have a list of mentors. Anybody, you don't even have to be a member of CTLS. Go to the website, it's right there. Anybody can reach out to any of the mentors. One thing that's important is we talk about people's scientific area, we talk about their technical area, we talk about their administrative area, so you can look at, you know, holistically, and you could talk to a microscopist about billing, or you could talk to an administrator about staffing, or whatever it is. And then the job shadowing program was founded also in 2022, and what we do is we give members of CTLS funds for short visits to other institutions to learn skills, technical or administrative skills. So everything I just said and similar things from the ABRF side are soon going to be submitted in a manuscript to JBT, along with Laura Lewis Tuffin and several other authors. So if you want more details, hopefully it'll get accepted and published. And yeah, so that's about it, and we're going to have some time for questions. Thanks.
Evidently, I'm the shortest one on the panel, the only one who had to move the mic. Somebody has to be it, right? So, hi, I'm Sara Arvay. I'm the Senior Director of Operations at McGee Women's Research Institute and Foundation. We are here in Pittsburgh, so welcome to Pittsburgh if it's your first time. Thrilled to have you all here. In my capacity today, I'm actually representing ARI, which is the Association of Independent Research Institutes. ARI is comprised of nonprofit leading research institutes primarily in the US. I don't think we have a Canadian member yet, but there was one being contemplated. So if anybody in the audience knows if I'm right or wrong, feel free to throw something at me. But in my capacity here, I'm here to talk about ARI. Oh, sorry. Skipping slides. I'm a problem child, evidently. All right, there we go. ARI is essentially an organization that focuses on connecting people. So the biggest value in ARI is the ability to network with colleagues from different tracks and areas that you may overlap with from time to time or very rarely. ARI has meetings annually, and that convenes all of the leaders from these institutions to talk about their needs and their professional development. And if you don't know me, I am half blind, it feels, so I'm going to try to do this without my glasses because I cannot see my screen. The goal of ARI is cross-career training. So the idea is to share knowledge from different fields, finance, administration, human resources, some scientific areas, but it is primarily administrative, as Ken learned last year as he attended a session with me. We try to share knowledge and best practices, and really we want to learn from each other. So the value is networking, developing new knowledge, but also figuring out what did you try that didn't work, or what did I try that didn't work, so we don't step in the same pitfall repeatedly. There are interactive learning platforms. One of the primary ways that we share information across institutions is through quarterly Zoom calls. They are essentially open forums. So we go onto calls with no pre-planned agenda in most cases, although I will tell you that as one of the leaders of that group, I do have a little cheat sheet next to me in case there is radio silence. But the idea is for those participating to bring their big questions or bring things that worked really well with their institution so we can share broadly. I will tell you, some calls are really robust and vibrant, others not so much, but on the ones that are quiet, we're able to focus on one or two key areas that members have brought forward and really do a deep dive to understand how to help each other to mentor and develop in those areas. The institutional commitment is key to ARI's success. Institutions pay a membership fee. Again, there are a lot of members across the US, but the fact that my institution pays every year for me to continue to participate shows that they're committed to my development. And the other commitment is through resources. So we travel to conferences. Our annual conference is in Salt Lake City in September. We also have these webinars that I mentioned previously, as well as other interactions that really take time and energy away from my day job, essentially. But in the long run, when I look back, those interactions have made me better in my position at McGee and also on ARI. I'm one of the operations track leaders at ARI, so I'm not on the board, but heavily active. So ARI is really trying to connect folks to be mentored. We're a national organization that expands the scope of who could mentor you in your current position. So for me, I'm one of the few business people in my organization, and I sometimes feel like I'm on an island by myself. I'm sure a few of you can sympathize with that in your organizations, especially if you're a smaller organization. When I interact with my ARI colleagues, I find people that are like-minded, have similar experiences, but also vastly different outlooks. And that's what helps me to grow and develop in my role. That's one of the keys of ARI as a whole. Cross-institutional mentoring allows me to be helped and supported by people that I may never meet otherwise. And I can tell you that for myself, as I'm getting a little bit older, I find that I'm approaching junior members of ARI differently and being able to help them. So the mentor and mentee relationship has been flipped, which is actually very rewarding for me as a leader as well. Shared knowledge spaces, so it's a free space and it's safe. When we talk at these meetings, unlike this meeting, there are no recordings, so anything we say is like Las Vegas. It stays in the room and you can implement it or not, but it gives you the knowledge that you need to continue and take away things for your institution. Strengthening the research ecosystem is the main goal of ARI, just like AAMC and CURA, ABRF. We're all focusing on the same goal, which is making research stronger. We find at ARI that as we grow in our numbers, so does the strength of the organization. That said, most of our tracks are very specific. So we have finance, human resources, operations, fundraising, and communications, among a few others. But what we're finding recently is that when we do cross-disciplinary tracks, we actually get better output. One of the examples I can share is from last year's annual meeting. The operations track held a focus group, so it was about an hour-and-a-half or 2-hour session about AI integration in operations. I was lucky because in the audience, we had folks representing finance, IT, human resources, and believe it or not, fundraising. So that interactive session ended up being much stronger because those in the audience were willing to share their perspectives and help us all grow and develop in our profession. I've also pulled together a few resources that I'll share here at the end, but I wanted to share just some broad strokes about developing mentorship programs and things that have come out at the ARI meeting in recent years. This is really a hodgepodge, but I felt that these were the key points that we've come across, and I thought that this audience could benefit from hearing these things. The first is to set clear expectations for the mentor and the mentee. One of the things that we talked about heavily at ARI in prior years is that the responsibility is bidirectional. So if you want to be mentored, you have to be prepared to be a good mentee, and that means setting expectations, outlining what you need from that interaction, and being really clear with your mentor. Next thing is the culture. So we want to make sure that the culture of that mentoring relationship is healthy. That means you're transparent and open. There's a level of trust. I can tell you with those that I have been mentored by, I would tell them pretty much anything and know that it wouldn't get back to the wrong people. I was very comfortable and they respected that boundary. The flip is also true. So if you have a leader who shares some things with you to help you develop, you can't use those against them, right? It's almost like a court of law. What I say can't be used or held against me. Maybe that's the wrong, I twisted that a little bit, but you get the idea. Next is independence. So you want your mentees to learn to be independent, and that means that you let them learn. You let them make mistakes from time to time, not fatal mistakes, but small mistakes that won't hurt anyone. Give them the latitude to make a decision and learn from that topic. I will tell you on my team in the operations at McGee, I have some emerging leaders is probably the best way to describe them. They're very talented. There are times that they come with an idea that I think probably won't work, but you let them try, right? It's not gonna hurt anything. You learn from the mistake and you move on. Next is sharing your network, and this is also bidirectional. So most people believe that the mentors have the best relationships to share with their mentees, but I can tell you, I have made some strong bonds with folks that I was introduced to by my mentees. So keep that in mind. It's a two-way street and you can help each other. Next is implementing clear evaluation. This should happen at the very beginning. How are you going to evaluate this relationship and whether it's working? Because frankly, if it's not working for the mentor or the mentee, it could be reworked or maybe abandoned. Finally, I would say celebrate success, even small wins. We have a culture right now at McGee where we start every meeting with a win. I didn't start my presentation today with a win, but I guess I should have. And that helps, it sets the tone. But I'll also tell you that we don't discourage failure. If you have a failure, that's okay. It means you tried something new, you attempted to make a move that maybe didn't work, and that's okay. So transparently discuss those items, move along, and don't make the same mistake again. Finally, I have a slide with some resources. Mentoring is a tricky and challenging responsibility for all leaders and learners, and I would encourage you to read as much as you can. We heard earlier about AAMC and CURA and their resources. They are vast and they are valuable. Please take advantage of them and just be confident that you're moving in the right direction with your mentor. I'm going to flip it over to Andy now.
Thank you very much. You mentioned successes and failures. I think one of my favorite quotes is, I think it was Edison that said it, that I haven't failed 1,000 times. I've successfully found 1,000 things that don't work. So it's a great way to look at that. Thank you for the opportunity to talk. I'm Andy Chitty. I serve as the Executive Director at Mass General Brigham, Executive Director of Research Corps. and oversee a portfolio of cores there. Prior to that, I was at Oregon Health and Science University up until recently, overseeing cores program there. I started out my career in a commercial company that designs and manufactures standard and custom-made products for the LC mass spec industry and laboratory instrumentation. Served for 5 years on the ABRF executive board. 2 of those years I had the pleasure of serving as president, and then was serving on FASEB as well. You know, I think we've all been talking about a variety of different opportunities to connect with one another and to share some of our experiences, some of the different societies that are available to us. And one of the things is we wanted to have highlight those connections and those intersections that we have between ABRF and all of these great societies. Josh also shared about CTLS and some of his experiences and some of the things that helped him along his career and some of the people who helped him. So I think that a lot of this is about, you know, making connections and trying to open up opportunities for us to connect with one another and build ourselves up together and collectively. Part of that, something that I feel really passionate about is, you know, how we're looking at not just our leadership or our leadership styles or the way that our leaders interact with us, but also those people who work in the cores and are our future leaders as well. And I was really excited about Kelly Vera's presentation this morning about technicians, because I think that that's something that we need to bring into the fold in ABRF in a much more intentional manner going forward. I'm here to tell you a little bit of a story about OHSU and what we went through in developing our career pathways. And it was born mainly out of a crisis. We were in a situation where our flow cytometry core was about to shut down because we didn't have, we were about to lose our last 2 staff members to industry folks who were looking to bring them into their own industry, their own companies. And it was a point where we were able to take advantage of that crisis and try to develop a core career pathway that was distinct from the general research population. So I'll just talk a little bit about how core scientists differ from traditional research scientists. Oftentimes, general research staff positions, they're staffed by personnel that are in academic positions that are gaining experience for future opportunities. They may want to gain their research experience. They may want to publish later. They may plan to be writing grants, or they may become looking to become a PI down the road. Core staff positions are in those positions to serve the general research community. They pursue careers in service-oriented activities, and they support those researchers to further those researchers' programs. Their expertise is built around specific technologies and methods, and there's a massive component of customer service and collaboration within our cores, within our core pathway careers. At that point, when we were facing a staffing situation, a staffing crisis, we decided to develop the core scientist career program. And we based it on our general research career pathways that were pre-existing at OHSU. You can see Research Assistant 1, Research Assistant 2, all the way through to Senior Research Associate. We built 5 different levels within the core scientist system, but we called them Assistant Core Scientist 1, Assistant Core Scientist 2, through Senior Core Scientist. And what that did was that made the core scientist program or career program more distinct, more professionalized, and looked towards long-term activities. Because what we found was that core staff, it wasn't that they wanted to work within the commercial industry. Some of them might have. Some of them did want, and if they do want to do that, that's great. They should move on in the career that they want to. But rather, they couldn't afford to stay in the corps. And that was a real eye-opener for us and also threatened our sustainability for our corps going forward. So all shared resources and corps require specific skill sets. And some of those skill sets are based around basic business skill sets as well as customer service. In many ways, all corps provide services, usually for a fee associated with it. So we set our cost-based rates associated with this. But each corps, although it has similarities among the corps, has specific skill sets around their technology. Flow cytometry, electron microscopy, histopathology are three different examples here. The flow cytometry might have a variety of different skill sets associated with it that are specific to that technology. For example, here has developing to proficient skills in cell sorting for minimal oversight may be required for client studies, and this is for the assistant core scientist too. Electron microscopy has other set of skill sets associated with it. Basic knowledge in ultramicrotomy and EM sample prep techniques. So we identified those differentiating factors within the general classifications associated with the core scientist series and built a matrix of skill sets associated with each core. I think what that did for us was it allowed us to, like I said, professionalize the core scientist roles, and it allowed us to retain key staff. The key staff felt validated. They felt that what they were doing was acknowledged within the institution, and it set them up as future leaders for corps going down the road. So I would encourage people to think about the technical staff as well, the technicians in our corps, and how we can promote their activities going forward, as well as our leadership programs, and get them involved in communicating with us and amongst our institutions. I think that one of the things that Kelly Vera's group from the UK Institute for Technical Skills and Strategy did that we should be looking at is they developed it on a national scale, and that makes it harder to roll these things back. We're finding that it's hard in our little pockets sometimes that these programs can be eroded, and the more that we talk to one another and the more that we develop things together, the better off we'll all be. Thank you.
Thanks to our wonderful speakers. Can we give them a round of applause? Wonderful. We collaborated with Brooke Ring. She represents the Canadian platform of shared resources, CNSP. She's unable to be with us here today, but she sent this slide here just to really tell us who they are, what the organization does. They do a lot of work in some of the things that have already been mentioned here. Career benchmarking, sustainable funding models, helping organizations and individuals map out things in that space. Evaluation and metrics. We had a really great session here this morning with Tim Bushnell about metrics. Governance, training and professionalism, policy and advocacy, and then culture change, which I don't know how Kelly and her folks in UK did that, but that's one of the hardest things to do, to change the culture and get acceptance. I'm sure that was very difficult, but I'm glad there are people that are really making strides in that space. So this is CNSP, and Brooke left her information, and she can be reached at that email address. And I ran into someone from Ottawa Hospital. She said she'll be here, so I was going to put her on the spot. She's part of this organization, but let's leave it at that. So we're going to open it up for questions. We have 2 microphones. This session is being recorded, so we ask that you speak through the microphone. Just come to the center and ask any question. And if you want to be specific to a specific presenter, go ahead and mention that. Else, we'll just, invite any panelists to take care of that.
Great presentation. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'd actually like to start with Andy. I really like that we're talking about career professional development at a number of different levels, and we've been very active at the University of Nebraska Medical Center thinking about what that looks like. And I guess I have one comment and then a question. I really like that you've been intentional about making sure that we have our research technicians and what I would call our team scientists involved here. I want to be cognizant of the fact that we're actually part of a much larger research ecosystem, which means we're critically dependent upon expertise at all levels for our collaborative success. And so sometimes we're thinking about this progression that we're continually moving up, but we need to make sure that we have people at all levels and that they're happy at all levels, whether or not they choose to advance or stay where they're at, because it suits them, and that's good to know. My question for you is, as I've tried to implement these practices and these career ladders within our advanced microscopy facility, the number one problem that I had was that although I knew it was important for my team institutionally to implement this, it's actually very complicated because it required us to reclassify everybody on campus. So the result was I said, okay, I waited a year for this to happen. It didn't happen. I'm going to do it for myself and my team, and then we'll wait to see if you guys get on board. Do you have any strategies or ideas for how we collectively move forward? I'm not fully there if I'm a single entity within our larger shared resource enterprise, so to speak. How do we make these fundamental changes at an enterprise level, if you will?
Well, I think looking at cores and the similarities among cores, if you're talking about the way that cores approach their business models and how they are similar amongst themselves, even though they represent different technologies, and putting together some sort of a matrix around the responsibilities and roles that are consistent among all the cores, and being able to present that and present it as to why it's distinct and different from the general research population. It's not better or worse, it's just a different role. And then being able to try to present that to HR, and it really helped us that we had the backing of the Vice President of Research to say, we're facing some difficult times if we don't do something about this problem. And I also said that flow cytometry was only the canary in the coal mine, that the next was going to be proteomics. They were struggling with the same challenges, and then other cores would be following suit. We all know that we're struggling with retaining good staff, particularly when industry can offer so much more in terms of financial compensation. And then getting a team, developing a team together, putting a team together amongst the cores where you develop the vision that you can present to HR, and presenting and developing a model that fits within the HR structure. You notice that we tried to make sure that it was in a format that the HR was used to and could understand, and then trying to find a sort of a sponsor within HR that will be your ally was really helpful. So all of those things, it requires a lot of different considerations along the process, and keep putting everything into place can be challenging, but that's really helpful. You need a team.
Thank you.
And Andy, just to follow up on that real quick, did you have anyone else from your executive leadership to be a champion in addition to some HR folks? Because I think the dots have to connect. HR does a great job with structure and all, but wondering if there was some sort of strategic alignment with what the cores do on the science that to support that you needed a sponsor from some other areas of your institution to be part of that effort.
A lot of the PIs were very concerned about the fact that we were losing critical personnel, and they wrote, about 60 of them signed on to a petition to the Vice President of Research, and the Vice President of Research then kind of sponsored us from the executive leadership level.
Thank you. Josh?
So just to follow up on